Well, the thing was with me in 2016, I tried to kill myself, and I woke up in the ICU, and my mom was walking towards me, and I was in this frame of mind. It's like I can't swear, but it's like shit. I can't even do this, right? You know. Um, and then my oldest one is also suffering from anxiety and depression, and that's where he started writing his music. But yeah, there's a lot of things. There's like people read about you, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Hi everyone, I'm Petrus and welcome to WorldView. WorldView is a podcast where we explore everyone's perspectives on all things that can broaden our worldview. If you've watched any of our content so far and liked it, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and donating on Patreon. Today we're talking with Loui Fish. Loui is an international model, a well-known socialite, and the former wife of soccer star Mark Fish. She's also written a book called In My Choos. Loui, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. We'll talk a bit more about the book very, very soon because I'm especially curious about the title. But first things first, we like to ask a lot of our people that we talk to on the show and so on, just to recount some interesting stories that they have, perhaps of their celebrity lives, perhaps of some of the people that they've met, just something that just immediately popped in your mind when I started talking about some of the life stories of being a celebrity.
There's so many stories. I can recall Nelson Mandela inviting us for breakfast. I can recall having dinner at Nelson Mandela's house. I can recall hanging out every second weekend in the footballer's wife's life of, seeing David Beckham or your Terry Henrys. I'm talking about our time now. Your Terry Henrys or, Ryan Giggs. George Michael was our neighbor. He used to live at the back of us. So, there's a lot of stories, private stories, but I mean, those are the things that comes to mind that I'm thinking, wow, was this really my life?
Yeah, and it's amazing because there really is a scenario of where a lot of podcasts or interviews that you have, especially promoting some of the series that you've starred in and so on and so forth, where people ask these kind of stories and they'd like to know, but because of that, they kind of have this, preconception that the life of a celebrity is a certain way. This expectation. There's in popular culture, there's these shows of, it's a Wolf of Wall Street. What are the life of it?
Wall Street, yeah.
Wolf in Wall Street, yeah. What this type of experience and lifestyle is like. And I just want to know, like, how close do those type of shows get into reality, or is it all completely over exaggerated?
There's always a thing where there's smoke, there's fire, and I had not watched Wolf of Wall Street, and then my best friend of 30 years, Dean, he said he called me and he's like, "You have to watch this movie. It's kind of like your life," and it was like that. But it wasn't. I mean, it's nobody can prepare you once you thrust it into the limelight or anything like that. There's no book that prepares you on how to be famous or how to live your life, especially after you have children. How you live your life to prepare your kids for any drama or any scandal or. I mean, my kids didn't ask to be in the magazines, so. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that can prepare you for that, but it's pretty close to the truth.
Because I mean, you say there's
of what you
there's no
read.
book. Yeah, well, I mean, you've said there's no book that can prepare you for this, but you've written a book, In My Choos, where you actually talk about these type of things and the difference between perception and reality. In this way, first of all, could you just recount the story, please, of where the name comes from, In Your Choos, and then also how it deals with these issues that we've just talked about.
So I met Jimmy Chu through our solicitor in London, and then Jimmy said to me, "You have to meet this guy. You have to meet this guy. He's a couture designer from South Africa, and his boutique was just behind Jimmy's boutique." So he introduced me to Eric Way, and we were just the best of friends. We still are. And so, walking in my shoes is basically it. Like I had a million Jimmy Choos. I was, if Mark messed up, he would take me shopping, or I would just love shopping, which you won't even catch me in a mall. Never mind a go to your shop. So it's not easy being married to an athlete. An athlete is everybody's. Really, well, any celebrity is anybody's, but an athlete is like girls throw themselves at you, or it's we live a teardrop in every room. So my Jimmy Choos, walking my shoes title is like because I had all these Jimmy Choos, and I actually got it from the Depeche Mode song. Try walking in my shoes, you'll stumble in my footsteps. So that's where that title comes from.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm familiar with the song, so it actually fits perfectly well in terms of what you describe in that book.
Mm.
I also know, for example, that it's also very easy for these people to forget that, like you said, celebrities, everybody they want to know the second that you're famous, they want to know what's going on in your life. They want to know more than just the shows that you participate in. They want to know about you. But parts of you are, not that glamorous. Like, for example, your family has been robbed and assaulted twice. Can you tell us about those events? Like, what has
Right,
that experience has been like?
right. So the first one in London, we they attacked Mark. I fell asleep in the room with the kids. They ran away with 2.4 million pounds of jewels, the Rolexes, the Cartiers, the 3, 4, 5 carat diamond rings, stuff like that. And then when we moved back to South Africa in 2006 and 2008, no, 2009, Mark and I were separated already, but the country had not known. So we had a beautiful house, but we had a beautiful cottage as well. So Mark had moved into the cottage, and he did a show on a local South African a TV station, SABC, and he had come home at 9:15 at night, and it was a Thursday night, and there was three of Luke's friends or two of Luke's friends, and they were in and out, in and out. I was in the pajama lounge, in my bedroom, on busy on the laptop, and the next minute someone came with a pistol against my son's head, and I thought they were taking the Mickey because. And then I just saw this. I mean, Mark had a lot of black friends. He played for Bafana. So it was just another normal friend I thought that had come in. And the next minute I saw this guy with a pistol against my son's head, um, and then I saw the other three guys coming in with AK-47s. So that was extremely hectic. So the first time Mark was affected, and the second time it was me and my children and my best friend Dean.
Yeah, that's terrifying, frankly. I mean, it's
It
not
is.
very often that you
And
realize the severity with which some of these things happen, and how, when
yeah.
you're just thinking something normal is happening, that that it's suddenly like, you're chilling, and you're on zero, and then it gets knocked up to 100.
I
It's just
mean,
that intensity of the scenario. Is how did you deal with that? How did you take it in terms of, like, what differences has it made in your life in terms of how you look at things or how you prepare?
at the moment when it happened, I just went numb because I had two of Luke's friends in the house as well, and I just begged them, please, 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 don't hurt the children. Do whatever you want with me, just don't hurt the children. But it's quite it's and the thing is, we were living in this super rich establishment, um, and like 2 weeks before that, we had to pay extra money for extra security. And these guys, they came in. There were 5 guys. They drove away with my Range Rover, and nobody was ever caught. And the state didn't give us the footage of who left with my car. They found the car eventually 3 hours later in Mamelodi in a ditch.
Mm.
They
Mm.
literally also just came in. They grabbed all the designer handbags and rings and stuff like that. So that's why I don't wear cheap rings. It's still my grandmother's rings and stuff like that, but you'll never see me with a 5 carat ever again.
Yeah, no, it's those type of active choices that you make to, make your own life safer, and you're able to give these
Mm.
things away, be able to lose it without losing much, and just in terms of trying to stay safe. I hope your kids have also recovered from this experience. I mean, that really is something else.
Well, luckily Zeke didn't experience it because he was at the time Mark was living, like I said, in the cottage. We had separated, and Zeke slept with his dad. It was on the same property, so Zeke was sleeping with his dad that night. He only got the aftermath of it, but Luke was literally tied up next to me. We got apparently it was police issued cable ties, and I was the last one that they put on the floor on my stomach with my hands to my back, and then they came with Luke, and Luke, they tied him up next to me, and I looked at him and I said to him, "Is the other kid okay?" And he's like, he started whispering to me, and then the second guy that actually came into my room with the AK-47, he's like, "What did you say? What did you say? I'll shoot you and I'll stop talking to each other."
Mm, mm,
So Luke is very traumatized still.
mm,
Zeke, thank God, was protected in both incidents. I mean,
mm,
he knows what happened to his family, but you know,
mm. And where are the kids now in terms of, I know you only have to share as much as you'd like. By all means, don't tell anything you don't want to. But like, what are your goals for them? What are they going forward? I remember you talking in a I think it was a Huisgenoot video. You said that the one is going to be the grapjas is the positive one, whereas the other one's going to be the super sports star. So
the
perhaps
one's
maybe
going
just
to
a
be
bit
a
more
no
about
good
how.
playboy, and the other one was going to be a superstar in sport.
Yes, yeah.
So they were both great footballers, but they're very deep children, and they're not. I mean, if you look at Mark and I, which the huisgenoot and everybody else thinks that we're these great party animals, and you look and meet my children, they never go out. They total recluses. They're artists. They write. I mean, Zeke's been writing since he was in grade 5. Luke's just launched his rap career. He's dropping his single in on the 30th of June. But they're very artistic. I mean, Zeke, yeah, like I said, he's been writing poems and songs, and he does beats. So he's got his own YouTube channel if you want to follow him. But they just decided instead of the football side or the sports side, they went the entertainment side. So they chose mommy.
Yes, it does actually very much seem like it, but it sounds like they're very happy in terms of what they did. They chose a passion in life rather than trying to fit in with the celebrity side of life. We'll definitely
They
link to
absolutely, they absolutely the odd ones out.
yeah.
Absolutely. But I found with a lot of people in the public eye, most of their children are like mine because they grew up in an unnatural environment.
Mm,
I mean, for us, it was, you get like holiday pictures or like I'm talking about when we were young. My kids would open up the huisgenoot and there's Christina or there's Arno or there's
mm,
whoever, if you have to catch up with anybody, it was like in the huisgenoot, it's like a local family WhatsApp group.
mm. Well, I mean, to a certain degree, I mean, you've said yourself that they're not always very accurate in representing what your life's really like. So, in that regard,
Mm.
it might be a WhatsApp group, but it's a very, not
Very
necessarily accurate
public,
one. Very
very
public
public.
one, exactly. Yeah. I
Yes.
wanted to talk about, so you've said in your book, Walking in My Shoes, that a lot of people have regrets and things that they would have liked to do differently. And this is something that you've learned along the lines of your life in terms of your experiences you've had, some of the things you perhaps would have done differently. Do you still feel about it that way, or do you feel like you've gained experiences in that where it was like valuable even though it wasn't pleasant? Or would you change anything perhaps?
I wouldn't change anything, although my life hasn't been. This sounds so idiotic, but I wouldn't change anything because I wouldn't be the person that I am today, and I wouldn't have the relationships that I had today. And in relationship, I mean, I knew in the end who was real and who was not, and who was there and who was not. I moved down to Cape Town in 2015 January with both my boys. We loaded the Xbox and all our clothes, and I drove down in my little A class Mercedes Benz, and just to be private, just to be private, and it's been absolute bliss. It's nice to not wake up and think your whole life is going to be plastered all over the
Mm.
media again. I mean, sometimes there was things happening in my house and the media would report it, and my kids would not know. They didn't even know we were separated, and then the media would report about that
Mm.
because of these robberies and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, no, those events are made public, and in some cases, people that are very close to learn the things that are even more intimate than what you necessarily would share with them. So that part is also
Absolutely.
different, and a part that I think
Absolutely.
people might take for granted when they look at a celebrity's life, thinking, "Yeah, I want that life." It's like, wait, no, it comes with a couple of
It's not
details.
all it is. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
all
yeah.
it. But that's why I've had a private life, and it's been bliss. It's been absolute bliss. It's.
Mm.
I got a bit nervous a couple of weeks back when there was the article about my oldest son that's now launching his rap career. It's like my heart just dropped. I was in Pretoria for a couple of weeks, and my heart just dropped because here we go again.
Mm.
And I don't always think they grew up in the public eye, but I don't think they're always ready for fame.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got a guiding hand there and experience there in terms of what you can teach them. Another thing that's also a very inspiring story from you that I've read is you had a bout with mental illness, a couple of situations actually there, which you had to work through the years, and it's something where, at least in terms of what you've told me now, you're much better at. But perhaps is this something that you think should actually be highlighted more, should be focused on more in terms of these experiences that people have? Doesn't matter what their life standards are, that people struggle with mental health and perhaps seeking the help that they need.
Well, the thing was with me in 2016, I tried to kill myself, and I woke up in the ICU, and my mom was walking towards me, and I was in this frame of mind. It's like I can't swear, but it's like shit. I can't even do this right, you know. Um, and then my oldest one is also suffering from anxiety and depression, and that's where he started writing his music. But yeah, there's a lot of things. There's like people read about you, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It's like 2018, my grandmother moved in with me, and she was 89, and she had senile Alzheimer's. And this is why I got so much respect for both my boys, where you don't know what it's like to live with someone with Alzheimer's until you live with it. It's like you can't explain it. It's like living with a retarded 3-year old, and I don't mean that in a detrimental way at
Mm.
all. But I mean she knows how to put on the oven, or but you scared they're going to burn themselves. So I was looking after my gran for a year, and then she passed, and but yeah, that's been hectic. And mental illness is everybody focuses on cancer, and my dad passed of cancer, and so did my grandmother on my dad's side. But um, mental illness is just not spoken about, and um, we have to create awareness there. I mean, most of my friends have got mental illness now. It's,
Do,
and these were rock stars in the 90s.
Do you think this is because I know there's a very, very big campaign, especially from the media that we see online, from the US and perhaps from Europe as well, where mental illness is being pushed a lot in terms of people making aware of it and the challenges that people face with it. But do you feel like the South
Yeah,
African context within of itself is perhaps because of the South African history and our culture that we don't really talk about these things because we have a lot of different tribes and people and different ways of life, but almost all of them
absolutely.
have some sort of aversion to talking about mental health. Do you think it's as
Absolutely.
unique to that, or do you think it's just we're just late on the bus?
I think in South Africa, I think I grew up from a very liberal family, but I remember my mom or my grandma would say, "You don't speak about this at school. You don't talk about it." And you've got it imprinted in your mind. You can't talk about certain things that's going to make it look bad, but mental illness is mental illness. And it's like, I didn't know what was going on with me at all. I would go and I would shower and I would stay on the couch. Eventually, I would phone my mom. The one night I phoned my mom and I said, please, can you just, the kids were still in school. I mean, they're 23 and 20 now. And I said to my mom, please, can you just come and cook for the kids? Because I've been making them sandwiches because I couldn't even get off the couch. I literally could not even get off the couch. to look after. I would take them to school, come back, I would sleep, and eventually my sister took me to the doctor. And she said to me, listen, I've booked you an appointment. I've paid 300 Rand and I'm not wasting this 300 Rand. Come, I'm taking you to the doctor. And they booked me into the hospital immediately. I had everything. I had CAT scans. I had everything you could think of. Um, and then they booked me into the depression clinic where I was for 2.5 months.
Mm. And part of that help, all the people that are around it, they helped you in terms of, the person that I see today and the matters that you talked about really create something that's more positive and has a positive future story in this. And you have to have the support center of the people that's with you that's saying, hey, I already paid 300 Rand. You're going to make use of that 300 Rand. We're going to, push you together to
That's my
take
sister.
charge of your life.
Absolutely, but that's my sister. She's my biggest supporter, but she's also my biggest, you know, she'll she's my biggest boss as well.
It's actually kind of weird how often those two coincide. Your supporter is also your biggest boss in terms of family as well. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
I just want to talk. You also did another video that I watched where you talked about your wish for South Africa, and you talked at length about hoping that politicians in our country, which is always a divisive topic in terms of the people that you talk to, but the hope that they actually came back, they thought about their neighbor as their friend and started serving the people. That was a couple of years ago. How do you feel that has changed, or do you feel like we've improved along that road, or how do you feel the South African people, in terms of the future we have, can be encouraged by your words?
I I I don't think I don't think we've improved. I mean, if you see everything that's been happening, I mean, nothing's been done about the farm murders, but yet, they go to schools and make drama at schools and stuff like that. So I don't think anything's changed there. I mean, even with COVID, you know, we weren't. I mean, we're the only country in the world, and I'm gonna mention this, that wasn't allowed to buy wine or cigarettes or stuff like that. I think they concentrate on the wrong things in our country instead of worrying about getting a plan to save the farmers, or I mean even human anyway,
Trafficking. Hmm.
trafficking, trying to steal the kids. It's just petrified. I've got boys, and my sister's got girls, but I'm petrified of what's happening to our children.
Yeah, this is a big fear. This is actually not necessarily. I feel like a lot of adults in South Africa, they have this mentality where they're able to work through the difficulty. They laugh in the face of, in a large in a large grouping of mentalities in South Africa. They kind of laugh in the face of the incompetence of government, but they kind of make it work because
Mm.
they do it on
Yeah.
themselves. But we're actually worried for those that come after us in terms of the children. How the effect's going to be on their lives. Do you feel like perhaps them not focusing on the right things is because of a lack of focus on what's the issue, or is it kind of like just trying to get away from the issue and trying to reap as long as it possibly can? But what, in
I
terms of the
think
next action, do you think should be taken?
if I'm going to be brutally honest with you,
Yeah, sorry.
okay, I can't hear. Oh, I could, no, it was just pausing.
Okay.
If I can be brutally honest with you, I think it's the lack of education that is why we're in the situation we're in this country. Because um, if all our people, all 11 cultures and all of that, if they were more educated, then they wouldn't vote for certain people, and then that's I don't know. This is me. I just
Hmm.
think if they were educated more, they wouldn't choose the parties that they choose,
And working
and
together and
everybody
inspiring
would have a better
people.
life.
Right, yeah. And working together and inspiring people to perhaps create businesses, create new creative ways of reaching more people through education and enabling them is perhaps, would you say, a
Absolutely.
solution?
Absolutely. I mean, I raise my kids without color. They don't know color. I mean, I used to wake up in my house and it would look like we in Soweto because all my kids' friends are black, you know. And so I didn't raise them with color, not in England, not in South Africa, any of that. And I think that there's hate. You're not born from hate. You're not, hate is not. is I've put this meme on Facebook. You're not born with hatred or with racism. You get
Mm.
taught it. So, and I just think, yeah, educate your kids without just, not to see color. And, there's no hatred about, everybody's like, Julius Malema is talking about, you know, uh, apartheid. He was a kid, if he was born even when it was apartheid. I lived through apartheid. My kids weren't born in apartheid. Why is Julius Malema still hating? Why?
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
getting very
no,
angry here now.
yeah, no, there really is a scenario of, taught is more important in terms of the spirit that people live in, and the love that they have for their neighbor. That's something that you can, it's almost naturally born. And
Absolutely,
if you
love your
foster that,
neighbor.
it continues.
Absolutely. It's like, I think it was Gandhi that's like, do unto others that you would do unto yourself. Like, love, exactly, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Was it Gandhi, I think?
Well, it's definitely been said a couple of times in history, so there's definitely a safe bet there. But I just want to say from my side,
Yeah.
thank you so much for the positive message that you've shared. I want to give you a last opportunity to just, add anything or plug anything that you would like to.
No, no, I'm fine. Is there anything you want to know still?
Well, no, I think what we'll do is we'll just definitely put the links in the description to your eldest's rap album that's coming out on the 30th, perhaps. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
We'll find it. If perhaps you could provide that for us, we'll find and make sure that people are able to link to it. And also your book as well, we've talked about, is something that people might be interested in once they've heard the story from this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool.
I'll send you both the boys' rap songs.
Okay, wonderful. Well, from my side, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been a very interesting
Thank
discussion.
you.
It's always great to
Thank
get an
you.
insight.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's always great to get an insight into something which I always feel like
Thank
sometimes hasn't been correctly represented or people have a misconception of. Being able to just talk one to one on each other, in a human conversation gives so much better perspective. So from
Yes,
my side,
absolutely. And
for our
thank you for
viewers,
inviting me. It was fun.
my pleasure. So from my side, from our viewers, I just want to thank you. If you've made it thus far, you most definitely liked the video. So please, if you believe in Loui's perspective, please by all means share this video. It doesn't only help her and share her perspective, it also, of course, helps us as a YouTube channel. And for those of you that made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This has been WorldView.